in 1998. This is interesting because, you know, medications are prescribed left and right. I'm not trying to bash anything, but just kind of bringing up some research here. But in 1998, they did a study, and what they studied was recent medical school graduates at the time. So they had this exam, and the exam was designed to assess competency in musculoskeletal medicine. So they established a passing grade of 73.1%, and they had 124 program directors in musculoskeletal medicine evaluate the results of the exam. You know what they found? 82% of the medical graduates failed the exam. So they failed to demonstrate competency in musculoskeletal medicine. So it was even more interesting because the results were really shocking, so they wanted to do this whole study again and ensure that there was accuracy in here. So in 2002, they repeated the study, but this time they had 417 of the top program directors all across the United States evaluate the exam. And they lowered the passing score from 73.1% to 70% for accuracy. You know what they found? 78% of the recent medical graduates failed the exam. What was even more surprising that they found was that these medical graduates, only 2% of their curriculum was devoted to getting education in musculoskeletal medicine. So if you're wondering what 2% is, it's only 2.1 weeks in their entire graduate program. And they also found that 1/3 of all doctors have no education in musculoskeletal medicine. And I bring that up because I find it very surprising and alarming, especially considering that, again, 80% of people at some point in their life experience a significant episode of low back pain. And a lot of times we're getting prescribed medications for the problem. And again, I'm not trying to bash doctors or medicine in general. I think medicine has had some amazing advancements in curing disease and preventing diseases, so it's come a long way, and there's a lot of good that's been done with it. It's just to bring this up because I think that we have to do a lot more than just depending only on our doctors and putting the entire health and well-being of ourselves and our families in their hands. We have to do all we can to gain the education so we can make more informed decisions regarding this. So now that I talked about all the gloom and doom and everybody's so happy here, let's talk about the anabolic stimulators. So the other branch of the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, that's basically our stress response system. It helps us recover and rejuvenate. So what we want to do is, we're stressed out, we want to balance that out with our recovery system. So some of the things that we want to do, especially with sleep, it's such a problem for so many of us. You know, we have so much going on, it's hard to get a good night's sleep anymore. Getting to sleep by 10:30, at least 5 nights of the week, you should be asleep by 10:30. And the reason why is because the windows for recovery, according to our biological rhythms, we have between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's our recovery window. Now, between the hours of 10 and 2, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is our physical recovery. That's when our body's trying to optimize that. So if we're getting to bed at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, 1 a.m., and we have just that window until 2 to recover physically, and we're not doing it, shortchanging it. So imagine the wear and tear that starts to happen on the body when we can't recover. Between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is our mental recovery. So if you've ever had problems like waking up at 3 in the morning and you can't sleep, and like 5:30 rolls around and you just conk out, man, the alarm goes off at 6, how well are you thinking that day? I mean, there's a reason why. So we want to dim the bright lights in the house, typically at least 2 hours before bedtime. If you have candles, light them. Dim as much of the bright lights as you possibly can. Be careful about watching, reading, or listening to anything that's negative or causing fear or even violence-based things prior to bedtime especially, because when you're trying to go to sleep, the last thing you want is all of the fear-based programming and all this crazy stuff running through your head when you're trying to get a good night's sleep. Right? Even exercise. Being careful about if you're exercising later on at night, because again, exercise drives the sympathetic nervous system, and it's got an active life of about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so that system is being driven. So you don't want it to affect your sleep. Eating for your metabolic profile. I could talk about that for like hours as well, but I wrote about it in my book, The Stress-Free Diet. Basically, if you've ever read the book, The Metabolic Typing Diet, there was extensive research done by Dr. Weston A. Price, who basically traveled the world and found all of these different tribes in remote areas of the world some of the healthiest, most vibrant people. They were free of the cancers and diabetes and all these diseases that we know. And they were free of all of these diseases despite eating so many different types of diets. You had Eskimo tribes that are existing on like 80% fat in their diet and protein. No kidding. And then you have other tribes who are existing on 70% plus carbohydrates. And they're some of the leanest, no obesity, some of the healthiest populations in the world. So what they found was, through all their research, was that basically we're all so different in how we process foods. That's why there's no one-size-fits-all diet that will work for everyone. Case in point, look at low-carb diets, for example. They work really well for some people. Do you ever wonder why, like, if you've known somebody who's lost all this weight and they feel great and they're jumping through the moon, oh, you've got to try this diet, a low-carb diet. And then the friend tries it, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm miserable, I barely lost weight, I feel weak and horrible all the time. That's what goes on, right? We have our own metabolic profile based on what our bodies are designed to do, and it really traces back to our heritage. So I wrote all about it in the book. Drink plenty of water. So our water supply, it's very polluted, but you really want to get some fresh, clean water. So things like Fiji water, artesian waters are really good. Vitel is another one. Some of the plain waters, if you have just regular water. And the big thing is, like, people tell me, oh, you know, I drink plenty of water. Well, how do you know you drink plenty of water? Well, because I'm going to the bathroom all the time. And that means that it's cleansing my system out. Well, I hate to say this, but it doesn't mean it's cleansing your system. It means your body's not absorbing the water you're putting in it. It's going in one end and right out the other. So if you find that you're running to the bathroom a lot more than normal, try a pinch of unprocessed, unrefined sea salt. Put it in there. You don't have to make it taste salty. Don't do that. But it should be just enough to mineralize the water and to help your body actually absorb it. General guideline for water is to drink, this is minimum. It's going to sound like I'm nuts, but you drink half of your body weight in ounces of water every day. Half your body weight in ounces. That's a minimum. And the more that you work out, or the more of a hotter temperature that you're running around in during your day, the more water you're going to need.